we'll be talking about our air monitoring program. So if you've been with us for a while, you know this has actually been a program that we've been wanting to do for a while because we were like, how do we make the case? No new oil wells. Well, let's do air samples. Like, let's get the data and figure this out and ask for health studies. So all of these things we've been trying to do. And with the gas leak, and we've already been working on this program, Jessica over there with Global Community Monitor, she's going to give us an overview of what we know so far about the samples AQMD has been doing. We took 2 of our own air samples this morning, so we're going to be talking about next steps there and more about that program. And then finally, we're going to open it up to all of you. So we know that that program will be great, but we really want to hear from you and create a space for you to discuss what you really think is important. The schools are an issue, relocation is an issue, so we want to give that space to you. So we have about 2 hours here today. And so, how many of you want this facility shut down? Great. I think that's consensus. We absolutely can do it. We absolutely can. I'm on that Porter Ranch Gas Leak Facebook group, and I see all the positive energy going in there, saying we can do it, we can do it. Yes, we can. But it's going to require a lot of work, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year. This facility is a very important piece of natural gas infrastructure and just energy infrastructure in Los Angeles. But we've always had the technology to transition to cleaner energy, which would mean phasing out natural gas, phasing out these dirty fossil fuels, which always have accidents. Something is always going wrong, and this industry refuses to be held accountable to public health. And so that's our job. If they're not going to be held accountable, if they can't clean up their act, and these accidents can be proven that it'll never happen again, because they can't, right? We need to shut it down, and so we need to be door knocking, we need to be talking to our neighbors and building the army, the people army, to make this community safe, make this community whole. So that's what we want to do. And to preface this, we have 3 local elected officials that would like to be champions on this issue. We've heard from them last week at the community meeting. We have Councilmember Mitch Englander, we have Supervisor Michael Antonovich, and we also have Mayor Eric Garcetti, who, by the way, is a big sustainability leader, so let's make sure we hold them to that. But they have done some things for the community so far, right? Like, they've taken small steps to make sure that the SoCal Gas Company is being held accountable, and I want to just give you an overview of what they have promised you so far, so that you can continue to hold them accountable to that promise, because we know Councilmember Mitch Englander is running for county supervisor seat when Antonovich is termed out. So is he just doing this to look like a hero, or is he actually going to stand with you when you demand that we shut it down? So we have to move him to where he is now, which is a champion. He's advocating for you, but to move him to shut it down, that's going to take a lot of work. But he's in a vulnerable position right now because he's running for office, so please keep that in mind. Antonovich, on the other hand, is termed out. 2016 is the election in November for the supervisor seat, which Englander is running for. I think Supervisor Antonovich will officially be out in 2017. Now, a little background on him. He's actually known to be really friendly with the developers and very friendly with the oil companies. He sits on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Board, which is why he's been able to direct AQMD to bring more staff out here and do kind of those little things that have been really helpful and important. But every time we've seen a very important vote go up to the AQMD board that requires holding companies accountable to their air pollution, he votes with the industry every single time. So just wanted to lay the political realities out there for you, because this is about politics at the end of the day. Who's voting for him, who's giving him money, is very important to follow that. Same thing with Mitch Englander too. We know that he's had a good relationship with the SoCal Gas Company. Every time he has a community event, or the YMCA, the North YMCA, which he sits on the board of, we know that SoCal Gas is a big funder of these types of community events, and they donate money to local groups. So they're very entrenched, and so we have to just be aware of the entrenched money and where it's coming from and how that might influence them, right? Because doing what they're doing so far is great, but getting them to come out and shut it down is going to take a lot of pressure, right? Which I know we can do. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what they've promised us so far. All right. Okay, so Englander. He sent a letter to the California Public Utilities Commission. So this is the utility that regulates SoCalGas's rates and the money. So they decide how much money SoCalGas can take from your pocket to spend on their infrastructure to provide you the service, that kind of thing. So he said that the ratepayers should not pay for the cost of this leak. Any costs associated with cleanup or loss to natural gas should not affect our bills. We should be holding the shareholders accountable. The shareholders need to pay for this leak. So that's really great. We actually asked for that in a meeting prior to, we had a lobby meeting with Save Puerto Ranch and Food and Water Watch, and that was one of the things we asked for, and he gave it to us. But we need to make sure he follows through on that. He also said SoCalGas is going to put up a local storefront. I'm not sure the status on that. Does anybody know the status on the local storefront? Okay, so that's something we need to keep holding him accountable to. He also said that the LA County Department of Public Health should be doing a health study. So that's not something that we've seen before, but it's a very important thing to figure out what really are the health impacts to the community. And he said SoCalGas should pay for that.
And so, Save Puerto Ranch has been asking about that for a year and a half.
Right.
And it's taken this for them to finally go, oh, maybe we should do one.
So we asked for it in regards to the terminal project, but they were like, well, we don't know about any health problems. How can we make terminal pay for it? And we're like, hey, this idea again, let's make SoCalGas pay for it. So he said, the words came out of his own mouth, but again, we have to hold him accountable to that because it's very important that we do a health study. And then finally, the California Public Utilities Commission, he said that he wanted real-time monitoring on all of the wells, all 114 SoCalGas wells. So whatever that means, we need to hold him accountable to that. And I'm going to move on to Antonovich because that's our other kind of big target here, an elected leader that we can push. I think everything he's done so far, like because he is on the AQMD board, he's allocated more funds to make sure we get more air monitoring done. He's brought more staff out here to make sure they can reply to you quickly when you call. Everybody knows the number to call, right? 1-800?
Cut smart.
1-800?
Cut smart.
1-800?
Cut smart.
Awesome. So what he did ask for, so after this went to the Board of Supervisors meeting and they had a hearing with the LA County Board of Supervisors, they sent a letter to Governor Brown's office saying you need to get involved and you need to make sure that the California Public Utilities Commission and DOGGR assesses the future use of the site. So that could mean anything. And we need to make sure it means shutting it down.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Great. So organizing, it's about building people power to challenge corporate power, right? Corporate influence on our democracy. These people work for us, but the corporations throw money their way, and so our elected officials often vote with the corporations instead of with the people. We know this. We all know this deep down, and sometimes it gets worse and worse, especially when you have, unlimited spending on campaigns because of Citizens United. And a lot of things have just made this critically important that people don't lose sight of how powerful organizing really is. So I would like all of you to think about what can I personally do, not just call AQMD, but how can I get involved and be part of this organizing force that's going to hold our elected officials accountable to shutting it down. So a little backstory on the environmental impact report that we got for Termo. We did your basic stuff. We went door to door and canvassed and said, hey neighbor, did you know about the 12 new oil wells? Do you want that in your backyard? We would get people to sign petitions demanding an EIR. We collected over 1,000 of those. Over 1,000 petition signatures going door to door. Then we would hold actions and rallies like we've been doing with all of you to get the media to come out and echo our story, right? Media is super powerful. As soon as we got on the front page of the Daily News, on the Termo issue, front page, the next day Mitch Englander issued a motion saying, county, do an environmental impact report. And build momentum. So media and press is critical. Doing events like this, doing public actions, being visible on the streets goes a long way to generating that media coverage that supports our message. Lobby visits, really important. Just doing the basic advocacy of letting them know we can shut this down, here's how we do it. Here's our 5-year plan for shutting this facility down. You know, really having the policy, really having the information to back it up. And that's what Food and Water Watch would like to bring to this space, is that kind of policy analysis. It's also going to take all kinds of events, education. People need to know what the solutions are. So we're going to do more events like this to talk about how we do it. And what I'd really like to ask of you is help us go door to door. We really see that as being the first step, because we've heard people vocalize the need to shut it down, but now let's see it on paper. Let's get 3,000 petition signatures. Let's hit a goal. Let's say we want to get 5,000. How quickly can we get there? By showing that 5,000 people took the time to sign your petition is powerful when it comes to these elected officials, because remember, Englander's up for election. He's running for a higher office. And if we can show him that we have 5,000 people, 10,000 people in his district that want to shut it down, he would be remiss to go against that going up for election. I see 2 hands. It's going to wait till Q&A at the end.
Well, it's kind of with this stuff.
It's with this stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she
Are
has the
you,
same
have
comment.
you gotten permission to set up, like we see all the time, a table in front of like Whole Foods, Ralph's, or locally to
Yeah.
get people to sign? Because people like me can't, I'm just too sick to go door to door, but if somebody's sitting at a table and
Absolutely.
explaining to people that are going to be going out.
Okay, I hear you, and I'm going to take that one, and then I'll answer. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I read yesterday that Aaron Brockovich is going to be helping out with the situation. So is that because of this group that you called her? Or, I mean, how did this come about, and what will she be able to do?
We're going to talk about that in a second. That's a very important question. So, Carol, right? Vicky brought up the point of, well, maybe you can't go door to door there, and what about setting up a table outside of Whole Foods? All of the possibilities, if you can plug it in a certain way, maybe you can help us lead a team that's tabling outside of Whole Foods. Or maybe you can help lead a team that's canvassing in front of the Walmart or by the Starbucks or wherever people go. We need to be everywhere. And it looks like we have enough people in this room to actually do that, so that's really exciting.
Sign-in sheet going around?
Yeah, and there is a sign-in sheet going around, which is actually our Shut It Down petition, so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. So yes, we need an army of people to go door to door. We think that's the first step in just showing the momentum and showing people who want to do this. That's how we recruit even more people to get involved, right? That's how we build the army that it's going to take to shut it down. There's so many other kinds of actions that you can do. We can organize call-in days. So if you saw this flyer for the action on the 12th, you already see on there that it's not only a flyer for the event, but it's an action flyer, so it's telling people to call their elected officials to shut it down, which is really, really impactful. We can also organize letter writing campaigns. Handwritten letters go a really long way, and this may all seem super cheeky and like, is that really going to work? But it does. It really does work. The more people they hear from, the more they realize, I better side with my voters, right? Yeah.
I'm writing a letter to Ellen DeGeneres.
To Ellen DeGeneres? Awesome. So let me give you kind of a quick overview of the timeline. I mean, so much happens every single day. The campaign evolves every single day. It's crazy. So what we have coming up this week. Tomorrow, Monday, there's a Porter Ranch Community School parent meeting. Raise your hand if you're going to that. Okay, great. So what we would like to do is encourage collaboration, encourage coalition building, so meeting with other groups. We understand City of Porter Ranch isn't the only group that now has a stake in this, right? There are lots of groups that are kind of forming around this issue that want their own thing, that are separate kind of to shutting it down. It's more immediate, like relocation, getting the kids moved, that kind of stuff. We want to collaborate, and so we ask that you guys be the eyes and ears for us so we can really get the full picture, because the more you bring back to us and tell us, and the more we can be connected, the better informed our strategy can be for how we shut it down. So the more information, the more diverse we are, the bigger we are, the more powerful we will be to make these demands on our leaders. So the second event is a press conference this Tuesday, 6 p.m. With the law firm with Safe Porter Ranch that's suing SoCalGas at the Odyssey restaurant. I'll invite them up in a second to talk more about the lawsuit. Wednesday, what time? I'm not sure. Do you know the time, Aaron Markovich meeting? Okay, so it's still very unclear, right? So hopefully we will know ahead of time. But Aaron Brockovich is coming to town Wednesday, supposedly at the Shepherd of the Hills Church. That's what we're hearing. And so no, I didn't specifically ask her to come, but I know a lot of our members did, like Danielle and Michelle. I don't know if you guys are here. Vicki asked. So I know a lot of us were looking at her page and saw that she was talking about it and inviting her to come in, which is really great, but we still need to coordinate, right? We still need to keep eyes on what everybody is doing so that we can have the best assessment and form the best strategy to shut it down. Yes?
I was just going to say, I contacted her on her email site, and her attorney, she's hired a group of attorneys and scientists supposedly to, oversee this. They called me back, and so, I mean, I think it's in our best interest to go on her site. You can get the site information from her Facebook page. And they will contact you back, and the more people that they're in contact with, I think that they know we mean business.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Call us back.
Cool. If they call you back, great. Yes?
If they were to shut down the facility here at House Canyon, what would they do with all that gas?
Their problem.
They only have a 6-week supply in there anyway. So if they were to stop importing and injecting and just use it, it would be gone in 6 weeks.
And would it be safe once they plug it up, cement it, whatever? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's all totally reasonable to ask for. Absolutely. It's just a storage facility. I'm going to hold questions in a sec. We're going to invite the law firm up in a sec. So the last action event this week that you need to keep your eyes on is this upcoming Saturday, December 12th, draw a red line against SoCalGas. This is probably the biggest action we'll be seeing yet, at least through the end of the year. In Porter Ranch, we're putting the word out far and wide. We have flyers here, so please come up at the end and take more flyers to distribute to your neighbors, your family, your friends, your coworkers. And we will be demanding to shut it down. We're red. We're going to be marching across the SoCalGas entrance and forming like an unofficial blockade. And we're going to be inviting a ton of media. So this is really our opportunity to get the word out, shut it down. So I'm really excited. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun, you guys. Rallies. It was fun, right? You guys have been a part of them. They're super fun, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm done. I'm going to bring up the law firm so we can talk about legal strategy, and then we'll do a Q&A. And then we'll show the never seen before footage, then we'll talk about the air monitoring.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt Capucco. From Safe Porter Ranch. So a little background on the attorney firm, our Rex Paris, Safe Porter Ranch. Retained them on two fronts, to represent Safe Porter Ranch, the nonprofit, to go after Sempra/SoCalGas, to do what we can to shut that facility down. You may have seen the things that they filed already in Superior Court and sent to the state. We talked to many firms. We had a couple long conversations with other environmentally experienced law firms, and a lot of conversations that weren't conference calls with other firms. Everyone wanted to go after personal damages and stuff, which is all totally fine and good, and that many people need that. The reason we got them is because of their experience in the oil and gas industry and what they're doing up in Kern County, going after the state, and going after Jerry Brown as well. So we picked that. They also will represent anyone individually and as a class for your own personal damages and that kind of stuff. And just so you know, Safe Porter Ranch reached out to Brockovich weeks ago. I never heard back. And I'm not putting her down at all. I'm just saying we did reach out to her, and maybe that, maybe she started having her look over here, but I'm sure once everyone else started reaching out to her as well, she finally said, okay, I can't ignore it anymore or something. But we do need her. Let's get her involved, and we're going to see how we can team up with her rather than, like Alex just said, all work together rather than fractionally.
Yes.
All right, and so I'll introduce our Rex Paris.
You know, before I start, I think we should recognize something. You got some heroes in this room. This is a huge company. They have huge political influence. It's international in scope. And these folks, you know, I mean, really.
I'm here for you.
I'm sorry. What Food and Water Watch and Save Porter Ranch, they've been fighting this for years. I mean, they're heroes. They deserve to be. So, I guess we should start out why. Why is this so important? I mean, the gas company says it's just methane gas, it stinks a little bit, and it'll be gone in 3 months. Isn't that what they're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't that pretty much what they've sold the local leadership on?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Mitch Englander, he doesn't believe that. You know, I mean, Mitch Englander is really your friend. Now, does he want Southern California Gas to dump $10 million into defeating him in his next election? No, he doesn't. But of all the people we've talked to, he is the most receptive, and you should keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about the lawsuits a little bit. Does our firm want everyone to sign up with us so we can make a bunch of money and you can make a bunch of money? Sure. But that's not why I'm here. Because let me tell you something. The last thing you want is a big personal injury case. I have never seen anybody who we've given millions of dollars to who wouldn't give it back in a heartbeat. In order for somebody to have a big personal injury case, they have to be terribly injured. And what we're attempting to do is to prevent that from happening in the first place. This is not a small thing. They talk to you about the work captains, and they talk to you about methane. Not a big deal, right? I mean, you know, what are you worried about? It stinks a little bit. Why are your children's nose bleeding? That's just, I mean, I've never breathed something and had a nose bleed. Have you, anybody here had that happen before this? Anybody? No. And it's not rocket science as to why this happens. You go onto the federal websites. You go onto the federal websites, and all this information is available to us. It's the hydrogen sulfide. It's the sulfur dioxide. All of these chemicals are in that gas. In this area, there has been recorded episodes of 183 parts per million of hydrogen sulfide. Now, that's just a number. Unless you have a business and you have employees, and if you allow a worker to work for 8 hours in 10 parts per million, they shut you down. They literally shut you down. I venture to guess that we're in 10 parts per million now. So what do? They change the way they test. Do we have that on the